last two speakers talked about. I got a couple notes here because I will tend to run through my speeches because I think everybody else is thinking the way I'm thinking, and I want to make sure that everybody's thinking about it. So, like Gary said, yeah, Ben Sattelberg. Bayshore Farms is the name of our family farm. My brother and I are fourth generation on this farm. Mom and Dad are still involved at some level. Dad also is he's the largest buyer of organic dry beans in the U.S. His elevator is called Thistledown or Everbest Farm or Everbest Grains there, and Everbest Organics. So he's kind of busy doing that. And what that's done for us is originally in 2002 we bought a farm. It was organic at that point, and that was a quick in for us. On that farm sat Everbest Organics, so it gave us an instant tunnel to see where we were going to go with our organic grains. Okay, and as that grew and as our families grew into this thing, Dad started buying dry beans because in our mind we've always been dry beans. So Dad today he buys out of 17 states, and he sells the Chipotle, Bush Brothers, the Daria, and a laundry list of others that I can't even keep track of. So today you guys are stuck with me. My brother and I kind of split up the show kind of stuff, and we have a sales girl, which is real helpful too if you guys had any questions about anything I've talked about. On the back of our brochures is our phone number for the office, and we'll get you more information. So like we said, today we're farming 2,500 acres organic. We haven't grown any wheat in 2 years. Our wheat market in Michigan, because it's winter wheat, we have a hard time in 17, we cleaned out the last of our 15 wheat. So we have 300,000 bushel of grain storage on a farm, and we do a lot of custom store and dry of organic corn for other people and for ourselves. And tying up a 40, 45, 60,000 bushel bin with 15,000 bushel organic wheat just doesn't make good sense to us. So today it's all row crops. We do, like I said, we grow a lot of corn, usually between 1,000 and 1,400 acres of organic yellow corn, and then string beans, something new we've been moving into. That gives us a couple different options, and dry beans. Primarily we're growing white kidney beans, Great Northerns, and some black beans because they're easier to grow. And then we grow soybeans, some seed soybeans, but they're all tofu type. So, and you're stuck with me today, and you're looking at this guy. I am older than what I look, but I do have 22 years of experience farming. 16 of it has been in managing our organic farm with my brother and Dad. So when we think about experience, I have experience. I have experience in walking in the field, mine, yours, somebody else's, and saying, I can tell you just about what's going to happen if you don't take care of these weeds. Or, no, you can probably be all right, because I've seen it go bad, and I've seen it go good. Okay, so on our farm, when we're looking for weed control for the next year, we're looking in the combine. We're walking the cornfields before we harvest them, the dry bean fields. We're saying, what did we do wrong? The first time we ever grew 200 bushel organic corn or 30 bag blacks or navies or whatever they were, we're like, all we got to do is replicate this. And then how can we replicate it? That's what we're always trying to do. And then we're kind of like the Macheks, one step up every year. Let's keep pushing this thing. So when it starts in the fall, we're thinking what crop we have, what crop we're going to, what nutrients we need, what cover crop can we use, when we always try and preload our fields for nutrient in the fall. We put our chicken litter, our compost, our gypsum on. We got a big floater truck. We got it made out in Iowa, and we have high capacity of spreading manure and big spreadable products. My goal is to get 85, 95% of that on in the fall, because in Michigan we can have a cold, wet spring. All of a sudden we're waiting on manure. Frost laws are on, XYZ. We can't get our products spread across the field in time, and then we're behind when we're starting to plant. And like Paul said, our planter is, at that point, we better have our decisions made when that planter's running across that field. Okay, so, I'll look at my notes here, but cover crops are great. We're using a bunch of different cover crops. We really start out with rye. Rye can be hard at times. I think the best place for rye is after you take your corn off. In Michigan, we're always cold. We're November. We can put our manure on. We can spray our residues. We can throw some rye out there, and then we can come in with our tillage tool of choice and work it in, as long as it's not a moldboard plow. Okay. Our residue management, you guys, this is twofold. You got residue from the crop, and then you got residue from your cover crop too. So when you're going into corn, we really don't like a cover crop in front of corn because it's the first thing we plant. We want that ground to warm up as quick as we can. We definitely don't want anything green out there because then you got more bugs, I think, and it's going to take nitrogen to break that green down before your crop gets that nitrogen. That soil is trying to break that green down. Tillage. What we're doing in the fall primarily, because it's easy, we're creatures of habit, because we're running 870 rippers like the bot checks are, except for we're trying to go in the other way. We use a 360 ripper point, and it's a 16-inch sweep. They pull really hard, and they lift that dirt up, and then they'll drop it. But we're not leaving any. When you dig it up with a shovel, it's almost like you went through with a plow, but you're not burying all your trash. Your trash is incorporated lightly, and it makes it level. Because I want a level surface in the spring when we come back to field all day. Residue management, just back to that just a little bit. I said residues. I like using residues in the fall. I don't personally like to do it because it's cold out. And I mean, this year our sprayer, it froze up. Nobody likes to get the liquid truck out then, but I'm telling you, we tried skipping it, you can't. You need it. If you skip in the fall, you're like, shoot, now you're out there in the spring and you should be doing something else. So, this is a video here. How do we get this to play here? Space bar? What's that? No. No. Well, maybe we won't get to watch the video today. What I'm doing there is we're showing the sprayer going across our corn stubble, and we run a knife roll head. That's what I did. This was actually originally a text I sent to one of my GMO buddies because he was up north deer hunting, and we were at home. I was farming. And he's always giving me a hard time about making so much money being an organic farmer and selling $10 corn and X and X and X. And I'm like, well, you could do it too. And so I always send him videos when I know he's at home or whatever. So what I wanted to show in that video that we're having a little technical difficulty of is that we're running a calmer corn stalk roll. They call them confetti rolls. And when the corn stalk comes through there, it leaves it like this. Okay. Before that, we have a gearing off head, and it would leave them like this. And before that, we had a Case IH head, and it'd leave them like this. And before that, we had a John Deere head, and it just kind of pushed them over. And we've evolved. I know probably the best tool would be either to go out and chop it with a stock chopper. We don't have time for that, or the manpower, or to get a rotodisc head. But money's money. Everybody's got a budget. So we went with this, and I think the smaller we can size that crop and get that residue sprayed on it, and then we got our manure on there too. It's all just it's like Thanksgiving dinner out there. So, all right, this is something new that we saw. My brother and I, we've done a lot of spring plowing because what we're talking about, weed control. Not only, I believe, I've seen it done tests where the moldboard plow, you go in there and you mow board, and there's less weeds. That's why everybody always used to do it. You go out in the spring and you got fall plowed, spring plowed, and then you got like a rip over here or some vertical tillage or something. This will be green with weeds. This is less green, and then the spring plow is clean almost. And problem with spring plow is, as most people know, is it's hard to keep your moisture. You end up running out of moisture, you can't get your crop planted. So this is called a furrow press. Here, try to make it work. There we go. And it mounts on the front of a tractor with a rollover plow. This is a prototype here. His plow is just a little bit longer than what his furrow press is. But I mean, this is in Austria. We walked in the field, watched this. I mean, we're taking a video, and that dirt has been farmed much longer than anything's been farmed here in the States. And it's a simple tool. There's plow companies that make them that hang on the back of the plow. You know, this is something that if you don't want to use, leave it at home. You know, the other ones can get kind of complicated. It's a new tool that I think we're gonna incorporate into our practice here pretty soon. So this is another picture. Okay, we're walking around the front. Those front paddles, what they do is they knock the highs off to the lows, and the actual wheels there. That's actually a dead furrow closer if you had a dead furrow or something. It's like a big V blade. But your paddles knock off the highs and the lows, and then the big steel wheels are just firming that ground up a little bit. I mean, the same thing could be achieved with a plow and a cultipacker, but then you got to have another guy, and you're running right over everything you just fluffed up. So I think you're kind of going against it. I mean, we have our own, for our farm, we have an agronomist that he comes out every 2 weeks and we talk about things. And when we're using vertical tillage or like field cultivators in the spring to kill a cover crop like rye, or something that's really aggressive, sometimes we might get 3-4 passes into it. And we talk about what that does to the worms, to the biology, you know, flipping the soil. We think sometimes, you know, just rolling it over, just taking one big hit might be less damage to the ground, to the ecosystem, than to keep trying to kill that rye with a field cultivator or vertical till or something like that. So, I mean, the moldboard plow got a bad name, bad rap, but I think there's still a place for it, maybe in like a rotational kind of thing. All right, so before we plant, we'll run over, we got 2 field cultivators, we're running 48.5 and a 50-foot Case IH field cultivators. We pull baskets. We do that because we want our soil as fine as what we can. Our soil can lump, it is a heavier soil, but we do have some sand. We're in the thumb of Michigan, we get a little bit of it all. And but we will pull the rolling harrows. It just helps knock the root balls off, you know, in the corn stalks and helps level everything out. So we usually do that at least twice before we plant. Dry beans, you know, it's later in the season. If you're killing a cover crop off, you might have 3. Then I'll go in and plant. Okay, let's say I plant on Monday. Our goal is we're going to run that time meter by Tuesday if it's a normal field. We have some soils around that we farm. It's black sand. I mean, it warms up. It's like 5, 6, 8. I don't know how many temperature degree warmer, quicker. My joke is you drop a lollipop in there, you come back tomorrow, you got a whole bag of them. That just seed soil contact on that ground is awesome. You know, our ground is variable. We're tiled up pretty good, so I mean, like the home farm, we're tiled every 16 feet with 4-inch tile. And it goes into a crack, we can pump it out. So that's we're already through that now. This is what we do. So plan on Monday. If it's weedy, Matt will be out there on Tuesday, and he'll go with the rows, okay? So we'll play this video, because you're like, geez, you got a lot of time. No. So he'll go with the rows on Monday, and then we run RTK in our tractors, so we got guidance on it, you know? And then Tuesday, he'll come back, and he'll go 90 degrees with the rows, because what we have to do is we have to make all the rows level. That's what the first tine weeder is. And we can set that weeder up so it's running. If this is your seed trench, we plant our corn, our soybean, our dry bean down here, we're gonna come with that tine weeder, we're gonna take all this off. Hit the reset button. Okay. Just go back to it. Okay. So we can run, we're running these 88-foot weeders. We run 2 of them on our farm. We run 9 to 10 mile an hour as long as the thing isn't hopping. So we're doing 100 acres in an hour. So it's pretty quick. We're running the same size planter as the Botcheks. It's 24, 22, 44 feet. This helps with compaction. It helps with time. I mean, our whole farm system is on like a schedule. Starts at planting. It's on a traffic control. All of our tractors are the case magnums with the tires on the front and the tracks on the back. You know, really think about trips across the field and the impact it does on our ecosystem and on the crop that we're growing. So we'll go in there Monday with the rows, Tuesday against the rows. When the beans or corn come back up, if it's beans, we'll go against the rows one more time. So we're pulling through the rows. It's a different kind of action than going with the rows because you're pulling through, okay? So then what you'll have is you'll pick up the phone and you'll be like, why did you tell me to do this? All my beans, I want to cultivate them now, they look like this. So I'm going to say, you're going to go one more time and you're going to go back with the rows and you'll straighten them all back out. And you'll say, you'll pick up the phone in 2 weeks and you get back out there to cultivate it in a week and you'll be like, man, that's the cleanest field I've ever cultivated. And that's, I mean, if we can do these steps on our farm, cultivation is a breeze. So the next slide is actually in the wrong place, but this is me, I'm spraying beans at night. Foliar feeding is big on our farm. We want to canopy the best we can. These are Great Northerns. Can you make that play or not? No. Why does that? Yeah. Oh well, it was worth a shot. But anyways, foliar feeding is big on our farm, and we want those crops to grow as fast as they can. Canopy. I mean, we tried to get away from foliar feeding for many years because Reggie would come over. I'm going to blame Reggie today. Reggie come over and he'd say, "Oh boys, you got some work to do," and we've been up all day cultivating. And we'd hustle around and we get the sprayer. We had a good sprayer and we had a good tender truck. But we were like, you know, I'm 40, my brother's 34. It's like we got to get out of this, or you know, this is back a couple years. Our yields started going down, and it's like we can't have that. So we slowly started to ramp up spraying again. Yields come back up. Correlation, I think so. So what we did is we went out and we bought the biggest sprayer that they make, and now, I mean, the router ready guys are jealous of us, and we get our spraying done really fast. It's pretty fun. But post tine weeding, the deal breaker with post tine weeding is you got to have hydraulic adjust. We're the North American distributors for Hatzenbeckler, and the secret, the reason why, there's a couple different ones, but the main reason why this is the best tine weeder on the market is this hydraulic cylinder right here. When you go through the field, you get into a sandy spot, you get into a heavy spot, you got to decrease the pressure on the tines. That's what it's going to do. It's going to rock those tines forward. You're going to dig in deeper. You get into lighter soil, smaller crop, you can back them off just a little bit. Without that, you're either going to be too light or you're going to be too heavy. And that, you know, that's the reason, the whole theory behind weed control in organic is you either got to be rooted in deeper or you got to be taller. If you're taller than the weed, you can most likely cover it up with dirt. If you're deeper rooted, then you can pull out the weeds around it. Okay. As you can see, there is some residue on there. That was before our high dollar knife rolls. But that weeder does run in that field that day. I got the video either on here or when we do our booth. We're running in the field. Those are white kidneys. Does a nice job. I could go, that field's half-mile long. I could just about make it the other end before I'd have to pick it up and shake it out. That's a problem. okay? Our goal is to not have, we call them mud dog huts. We don't want mud dog huts all over our field. What we end up doing with the mud dog huts is we'll drag them to the end. If we get in this situation, drag them to the end, send a hired guy out there with a loader, they'll make a pile, they'll light them up. Just get rid of them. I mean, at that point, they're a nuisance to us. So our goal this year, because we saw we did last year, is to have all our residue managed properly so we don't have any of those issues again. Okay, so right here we're in the beans. These are actually string beans. String beans, I thought, they asked us to grow them, and we're like, no, first couple of years, and had a buddy that was growing them, and he says, man, these things, oh, that's corn. Oh, that's corn. We'll go with the corn story. All right, so we built the double rotary hoe a couple of years ago. It worked pretty good for us, but it's rotary hose poke. There's no really good depth control on them because you're running on a wheel. Anything that turns on, Dad always told us, past the ground. I'm a firm believer in that. I think there's a good place for rotary hoe, and that's if you have a cross. If you're in the drive, you're kind of poking here, you're kind of poking here. So what we did is we made a double rotary hoe where we don't miss. That's better, but I still think the dragging, the vibration of the tines doesn't pack, takes less power, less fuel. You can get more done in a day, and you're not replacing bearings and rotary hoe wheels. So the problem that we had is that in corn, if it's sandy enough, the video that Paul had, it had nice fine dirt. That was a beautiful video that he had. It works great like that, but if you have any lumps, if you don't have your dirt fine enough, what's going to happen is it's going to roll the lump up on the corn. And then your corn is just going to be like this forever, and it's not going to, not going to come back out. So what we did, can we back that up? You go ahead. All right, so what we did is we took a 44-foot tine meter, the same size as our planter. We took 2 to 3 tines off per row, so the corn is essentially going down an aisleway like this, and those tines are bouncing in and out of that corn a little bit, but it's not directly on it. I talked to the good doctor over here this morning at breakfast, and he says, I got one of them that pulls my corn out. And I says, you got hydraulic adjust? He says, no. I says, well, we got one even better after you get hydraulic adjust, we got one more step. And I mean, this is kind of my brother's dream, and 2 years ago, we didn't have the camera steer down. We got that, I mean, that was the chore of 2 years ago. We got that camera steer down, it's working spot on. So now what we can do is we can go in there, it's like a micro cultivator. It doesn't throw, a lot of dirt. You can control it with the hydraulic adjust, you can control your speed, and it's mostly fine dirt that's coming in your row, and you're getting as close as possible as that corn. So if you did the first step of tine weeding before that corn come up, your corn's going to be taller, so if you roll a little bit of dirt in there, it ought to get it. One more time and watch the video. Come over here.
How does it work in rocks?
Doesn't bother rocks. Little rocks, big rocks, don't matter.
How about hills?
Hills, we can, yeah, our 88 footer would work good in hills. We can get, we start at 5 feet and go to 60 feet. We get hydraulic parallel arms on them. I mean, that's some pretty small corn. Doing a nice job of hilling without burying that corn up. It's going, I think he's going 4.5, 5.5 mile an hour.
You're using the guidance.
And that's got the guidance. Yep. RTK is good, but I plant with a pull type planter, so we have some planter drift. So that's our solution. Cool thing about the camera steer hitches is that it doesn't matter who planted it. Make that play. This is a picture of us tine weeding out on our home farm and the corn. Camera steer hitch gives you a little idea. Well, that was a pretty cool drone video. I can't fly the drone either, so actually Kelsey flew the drone, our sales drone. But like you can see, we do have variances in our soil. One thing I did leave out is I farmed in 4 different counties. When we started out with Snover, we still had the home farm, so we would farm over there. Snover is very different from this. As you can see, we're right up by the bay shore. If this is Michigan, we're right here. So it's nice and flat. We got big drainage ditches, and but you go to Sanilac County, it's really hilly, not much tile, a lot of fence rows. You know, the practices that we use here, we've used there too. So I don't think that they're way far off from anything you guys might do. All right. So this picture's got a lot of attention over the years. This is the first year that we got hydraulic adjust. These are black edible beans. This is that same black sandy soil that you drop a lollipop in. You got a whole bag of them the next day. What happened here is I probably planted on a Saturday night. Sunday to go to church. Probably rained Sunday afternoon. This is, you know, the result. This never got tine weeded pre-emerge. So what we did is we come in here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I was running my row cleaners on my own planter. It was before I had where I could change it from the cab. So on the front side of this farm, it's heavy dirt. Probably had lumps up there, and the beans are actually down in a little ridge, maybe about the A-far. So cultivating was out of the option, but we could do it with a tine weeder. And I mean, most of the lamb's quarter, not really much grass out quite yet, but did a pretty good job cleaning them up, save that crop. It's not definitely where we want to go. Okay. That's also before our auto steer. I was having a hard time keeping it on the road there because I was looking back.
Iron blade.
Yeah. This is a picture. I mean, these are just the beans. You know, I just wanted to show the canopy of the beans. You know, after all the work we did, you know, they're pretty clean. We did have them hand hoed, but really wasn't that much hand hoeing. Usually if you get a lot of hand hoeing, you end up with a lot of holes in your beans. But we do have some foxtail right there, see. That's what we're going for at the end. All right, so I'm going to quickly slide through Bayshore Sales. Bayshore Sales is our sales company. We started this up 5-6 years ago. We were doing talks and people were asking us a bunch of questions. And we said, you know what, let's just start a sales company because that's what people, you know, they want to know what we know. So it's three-way partnership between my dad and brother and I. And if you pick up the phone and say, I want an organic farm tomorrow, I have no experience, I can tell you the products that we use on our farm and this is why they work, and we have test spot data and the equipment that we use and why they work and where they won't work or where they shine. So when you're buying from Bayshore Sales, you know, you're buying from another farmer. At the end of the day, you know, we do this to help people. We're busy enough with everything else we're doing, you know, but it's just a service we offer. So camera guided cultivation hitch. That's the new thing, big buzz out. It's been in Europe for 4 or 5 years now. Europe come up well. It's a Kloss camera. Kloss come out with a camera system to optically look at the rows. Then everybody started building hitches. There's 3 or 4 different hitch companies out there. What we're looking at here is a side profile of the hitch. Okay. You can see it's got a slide in it. This big guy right here. That's how it slides. Get your hydraulic cylinder. There's your potentiometer up there. This one here is directly mounted to the frame, and you quick hitch it onto your tractor. We went to the owner of the company. We said, hey, guys over here, organic farmers, you know, probably not going to say, yep, sign me up for a camera steer hitch and a cultivator right away. So he says, let's make it a quick hitch. So we offer our camera steer hitch as a quick hitch. So you can back it up to your Buffalo, you can back it up to your tine weeder, you can back it up to your flame burner, whatever you want. All you got to do is you got to mount your camera on whatever frame you're on. So you're looking at the rows in real time, and we got to get a GPS signal, or we have to put a speed sensor on it. It's a safety, so that when you stop, the thing isn't rocking back and forth on you. So the main thing about this slide is we're looking at the robust of the hitch. We offer 3 different sizes: 6-row, well, like a 6-8 row, then a 12, 16 row light, and then a 16 to 24 row. And on our farm, we're actually steering a 24 row cultivator. Hatzenbeckler went to Agritechnica not this November, last November, and they showed off their 60-foot cultivator. It's a tow style cultivator with camera steer hitch right in the middle of it. So I mean, that's what we're looking at. We could get a 66-foot planter, 66-foot cultivator, then I mean that would eliminate 2 of our cultivators. Be more time for my brother and I to spend with our kids or something. So the camera steer hitch has got 3 components. First one's a hitch, we just saw that. This is a picture of the camera. You can see it's got 2 eyes on it, so we're looking at 2 rows. I mean, don't think that on day 14 of your crop season you go out and the weeds are this big and your crop's this big that this thing's going to be able to pick it up. There has to be some kind of judgeable difference between it in size. So, but we are looking at 2 rows, so if one row disappears because you plugged a rotary hole wheel or you drove on it or who knows what, we'll judge off the second row. This is our controller box. In this box you will make your adjustments to tell the camera how far up off the ground you are, how far apart the plants are, and there's one other one. That's pretty simple, but that's the controller box. You're going to have that in your cab. Then you're going to have a camera screen. You're like, oh, how many screens are going to have in my cab? But you need to be able to see what your camera's seeing. It will physically show you your row, what your camera, real live footage of what your camera's looking at. And then it'll give you red lines and blue lines. And I think red lines are bad and blue lines are good. This is the light kit. So you're like, I'm going to buy this expensive hitch and I can't go at night. Here's your light kit. Those are Xeon lights. It's not a cheap kit, but it will give you round-the-clock precision elevation. If you are running a camera steer hitch in a 30-inch row, you can physically drive on the crop, and your cultivator will still be that close to where it needs to be.
Yep. Ben,
Yep.
what's the clearance from the crop? Did you say that already?
What's the clearance?
Yeah.
It's like we were cutting string beans. We'll actually see it. Well, I hope we will. I got a video in here of it. We were actually cutting the leaves off the string beans and leaving the stalks with cutaway discs at 5.5 mile an hour. So it's faster than what we can do by hand, tighter. This is just kind of showing you got your, this is where your camera would mount here, and then this is obviously your hitch. This is right here to your frame. That's one option. These are stabilizer discs, so when your camera hitch says I want to go this way, it's not pushing on your tractor. It's just the design. This is a 16-year-old cultivator with a camera steer hitch on that. That's a new frame they come up with a couple years ago. It double folds to keep road transport down. I know that's a big one. Yeah, both of these are. All of these were. You make that one play? Well, let's see what this one has. That's fine. This is a stock video from Austria. That's our roll staller cultivator. Here, this is like Williston cultivator, except for the wheels are made out of spring steel, hardened spring steel. They have bearings. They're all separate. They're not on one rack. Some finger weeders there working in the corn. We ran a roll star on our farm. It's probably maybe not for me. I'm really impatient. I need to go out there. I need to make it work, and there's 100 different adjustments on it. And we did get it to work, but it took a long time. And we switched to a different style. This is our cultivator on our farm. Of course, it's sideways. Everybody took their head this way for me. So this is a Viber shank cultivator. There's cut-off discs on the front. Those are string beans. First time cultivating. Camera steer hitch is going. Five and a half mile an hour. Life's pretty good at this point. These beans have been, it was spring ripped. planted them, couldn't tine weed them because of prior engagement, so we flame weeded them right before they came up, and then we tine weeded them with the tines off because they're real delicate, and then that was our first cultivation there. You know, Europeans might cultivate different than what we cultivate. They've been doing it for longer though. I don't think it's wrong, I just think it's different. We're running on our farm, we're running 3 Orthman 24-row cultivators. Orthman's a good name. Real, I mean, we've owned most of those units since 1990. They're rebushable, they're greasable, heavy duty. You really got to hit something big to bend something to break it. They're high speed, you know. Might go on and on about them, but the problem with them is the best part about them. They're built heavy duty. You get in a situation where it's too wet, too soft, you stick that big cultivator out in that field, and you're doing some damage. I mean, I've been out in a plowed field that's mellow as all get out, walking the beans in front of the cultivator, take your hand and stick it right down like this, as far as you can push, run over it with the cultivator, you go down just as deep as what I went with that cultivator. The weight of that cultivator is heavy, and we're pressing down on it. I mean, the frames that we're running are huge. So when you think about your cultivator, you know, it's also causing compaction too, if you're carrying too much weight on it. That's one thing that, you know, the Austrians told us. They came out one day, first day we met them, we said, what do you think? Because they didn't make any cultivators that big. And then, you know, the Europeans, they smoke like freight trains, and he's out there just toking, and he's like, oh, this is much too big, this is much too big, and we're like, what do you mean, this is what it takes, you know, this is what America's about, you know, cowboys, you know, kind of thing. And, well, we're getting a little older, we're learning some stuff from them, and you know, there's places for both of them, and I think that, you know, the first time I looked at some of the stuff, I'm like, really? This looks like some of the stuff we threw out 20 years ago, but the stuff's different than what we had before. Their steel is better than ours, it's all #1 Austrian steel. And the shovels that they make, they're made out of pin stock, they wear long, like the roll stars, you know. They had a customer who wanted to buy one, so he comes over, that's the rolling cultivator, and he says, these things are gonna bend. It's like, okay, so we put it in a vise for him and hand him a hammer. And he starts whacking on that thing until he's big and sweaty, you know, and it's like, you want a bigger hammer? He says, no, I don't think it's gonna break. And it's like, we know it's not gonna break because they use it every day over there. And they don't have anything. You really don't have in Iowa unless you go to Ukraine, you know. They don't have like what Paul has. I'm jealous of that. Paul, did you know that? All your topsoil. You know, they work in rocks. They farm between the Alps. These things are made to do what we need to do over here. So give it a shot. Look at the stuff. Oh, that was our 2 types of cultivators. So Hatzenbickler offers 2 styles of quote-unquote S-tine cultivators. The one is your traditional S-tine cultivator, heavy duty, you know, not going to bend, not going to break. The other is, they call it a viber shank. An S-tine will go kind of maybe in a circular motion, maybe side to side a little bit. The viber shank, it's got a straight rod that runs up and down. When it goes to the field, it's going to be more like this. Your S-tine will tend to want to lean back and run, where this one's going to run more flat, no side to side. Also shows our 2 options for our shields. Personally, I want this kind here, not that kind. Just my personal thing. We offer long trees, short trees. The guys in the 30-inch rows, we've been going. We'll do 3 legs on a long carrier. You get more trash through, more corn stalks. It's like a 9.5-inch shovel. So you're getting some overlap in your 30-inch row. Finger weeders. These things, you know, they've been out for a while too. Everybody looks at them the first time, wow, those are pretty cool. Do they work? No, we just sell them because they look cool. Yeah, they work, but they will work against you. I've had them, we got a video, if it plays, I got a video coming up, and it's probably sideways, if that other one was sideways too, but I was cultivating, and it wasn't dry enough. And I was cultivating with our Orthman. So I was really shallow because I didn't want a slab up on our beans. And when you do that, you're not really putting a lot of nice fine dirt up into the row, and your finger weeders are essentially, they're running in the row like this. You don't want them running like this, because they'll mow your crop down. You want them right here. You're scrubbing both sides of your soil profile at the base of your plant, and you're making a dirt mohawk taller than what you could throw in with like shields, okay? And then you're also throwing out little weeds that were in there to start with. And the whole thing is driven on the bottom ground speed. Here's our video. So this is on the back of our working color. I don't know what the deal is there. It was upright. So these are in dry beans. They're black beans. I did this probably on 800 acres. It was back when we were still clipping beans, so it's been a while ago. And my brother could see that when he was clipping the beans, where that row was throughout the field. You know, we didn't have, our weed situation wasn't terrible, but there was absolutely no foxtail in that one row. So they do have their benefits to them. But like I said, you gotta use them right, or they're gonna work against you.
You gotta have a guidance system, right?
No. If you got them, you can. There's variance with them because the fingers will flex up, and if you're bumping to one side, your bean or whatever, it'll just kind of lean over and it'll come back. I would say if you had corn, yeah, that's going to be like your cut. If you're cutting this close, you want your fingers running about that close because they're actually going to push dirt beyond them. You know what I'm saying? So you could get by without it, but you're going to be more, This is what a top view of it looks like. That's ideal right there, what we're looking at. So everybody asks us this too. See the sticker here? That's a cress. Okay, so cress is a guy from Germany, I think, and he owns the patent on the fingers, but he buys all his cultivator parts from Sattelberg. So Sattelberg in turn comes back and buys the wheels, and they kind of swap. So another picture of our roll star cultivator, 16 roll. That's our double folding. And another stock video. I think this is it. Oh, nice. Those are sugar beets, I think. That's that fiber shank. There's your roll star cultivator. They like to cultivate wheat over in Europe.
And do they do a lot more organic over in Europe than they do here?
I think percentage-wise, I know that there's like tax incentives. The government actually pays them a subsidy to grow organic, and then they get the bonus on top of it. It's worth more. They do grow a lot over in Austria, but I don't think. I mean, a big farmer in Europe or in this part of Europe, maybe it's 200 acres, maybe it's 400 acres.
The government limits how much they can grow conventional.
Yeah.
7 months. Single production,
Right. They're putting down with the air seeder fertilizer. Looks like our Chilean nice right here.